Hey everybody, it's Ron Bass with another edition of the Ron Bass Show, your source for inspiration, encouragement, motivation, humor, maybe. Mr. Brent Atterbury, producer, executive producer, friend, marketing guru. He paid me to say all that, by the way.
That's right.
Compliments. Well, that's a pretty deep subject for very shallow minds.
Yes. Way to start us off.
Well, what are we going to talk about today? That's the $64,000 question.
The weather?
The weather? Well, in the United States, it's a little balmy, pretty nice.
In the Midwest,
warm,
it's very nice.
Very nice. I don't know what it's like over there in Russia, India, Pakistan.
But, you know.
Maybe let us know. Send us some comments on the weather, how that differs from over here in the United States where we are at doing the podcast.
Every day is a beautiful day.
Every day is a beautiful day. You know, it all has to do with really what you set your mind to. Mm-hmm. We talked about it the other day. You're not happy because you whistle. You whistle. You don't whistle because you're happy. You're happy because you whistle. You can make yourself be happy.
As long as you can whistle.
As long as you can whistle. That's funny. Mr. Humor over here. Well, I thought today we talked just a little bit about some success stories.
Oh.
I know we've talked about, I like to talk about music stories because as you may or may not know, I'm in the music business, have been for a few years, the entertainment business anyway, but primarily it's been music. And bringing on new artists and teaching them to stay the course and be patient is not an easy task. And really, truthfully, back to everybody out there listening, it's the same idea, whether you're in the music business or whatever goal you have to stay the course. It's just not going to be easy, guys. Somebody the other night was saying, oh, this and oh, that. I said, look, man, you're going to have to struggle to get to where you want to get to. And people don't want to hear that maybe, but that's just the reality. We talk about this all the time. It's not like it's the kind of struggle that's going to kill you, but you have to be patient. It takes time to develop a craft. It takes time to overcome all the things you got to overcome to get to where you're trying to get to. Sometimes you get lucky. And I oftentimes talk about the Chappel Roan story. This girl lives about 10 minutes from where we're at right now. At least that's her hometown in Willard, Missouri. And she was really good in school and music and did a lot of stuff, when it came to singing and playing the piano. And she left home really early, about 18 years old, and went to Los Angeles. And she eventually got a record deal, but it didn't go well. And the record label dropped her. Now just think about that for a minute. You're a young person in your 20s, a couple thousand miles away from home, right? And you took the risk because you believe enough in yourself, right? You gotta have belief in yourself. If you don't have belief in yourself, nothing's ever going to happen, guys. Self-confidence really is the number one thing. If you believe enough in yourself, you can overcome and you can stay the course. If you don't, you're going to give up pretty easily. You're probably going to fall into the drug and alcohol scene, which is unfortunately what most people do when they get discouraged, depressed, frustrated, because it's a quick fix. Makes you feel really good for about a minute until the next day, and then it's like, oh man, now you're even more depressed, more unhappy, and you got to go back to the bottle, back to the marijuana, back to the pills, back to the meth, whatever you're doing. And it just goes on and on and on. It's a deep hole, guys. It's just not the place to go. It's not the way to handle it. You got to handle it through, being around good people, exercise, rest, just do all the basic, simple things that it takes to stay the course. If you're strong mentally and physically, you can handle pressures. You can handle disappointments. If you're not physically and emotionally strong, like Brent over here, then guess what? You're gonna fall into that deep cavern. It's not worth it. Anyway, back to Chappel Roan. I don't think that's her real name, by the way. That's her stage name. Okay, so this gal was obviously disappointed. Moves back to Missouri with her parents, I think for a year. I could be wrong about some of these details, guys, but bear with me. She eventually says, okay, I got to give it another shot. Goes back to Los Angeles, and she There's a song that she wrote like 6 years prior to all this. It's called The Pink Pony Club. All right. She releases the song. I don't know if she did it through a label or on her own, but regardless. And, it's just the way it is, guys. The song blew up. Well, when the song blows up, the artist blows up, typically, right? I was telling one of my friends the other day, I said, look, man, you can always probably make a living if you're a good artist. But there's a big difference between making a living and making a fortune. And really, to be able to make a lot of money, you're going to have a hit record. It's just the way it works. And this gal, it hit. And she was all of a sudden on national television. She was opening up for big artists, yada, yada, yada. You get the idea. And over the last 6 months, she won a Grammy. So egg in the face on the label that dropped her 2 years ago, right? And think about this. That song is 6 years old. So let's analyze that a little bit. There's probably a lot of people out there listening to the podcast that have ideas that they've been nurturing for 4, 5, 6 years. And nothing's really happening. And they're like, man, I'm so frustrated. I'm disappointed. Why isn't this working? Whatever it is. And what I'm trying to get at is that you can't give up on the idea. If she would have gave up on that idea and stayed home and not went back to Los Angeles, that would have been the end of her career. Now she is like hanging out with everybody. The other day she was with Elton John doing a duet with him. Now think about that. Elton John's probably one of the most successful artists in the history of the world. And this guy just loves this person. They're all the time talking to each other on the phone. They're hanging out together. They're doing music together. But the point I'm trying to make is that she didn't give up on the goal. She stayed the course. On another success story I'd like to talk about are the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. I've talked about them a little bit before. They're from Springfield, Missouri, where I'm from. Many years ago, I had a rock and roll club in Springfield, and I actually hired the Ozark Mountain Daredevils to play for me.
Is that back when you were a wild man?
Back when I was a wild man.
Okay.
Yeah, this place was crazy. It was called Groucho's, which is one of the Marx Brothers. People probably don't know who that is. But these guys were comedians way back in the day. They're like brothers. And they had a very big, successful act. And Groucho Marx was like the main part of the act. So I named the place Groucho's, and we had murals on the wall. And at any rate, on one side of the club, we had the fraternity that I was in. On the other side of the club, we had bikers. Well, every once in a while, there were fights. The bikers and the fraternity people, and then we'd have bouncers that tried to get in the middle of it and break it up, but unfortunately it didn't break up too well. And we had a lot of times police would come in, and we had brawls. I mean, it was crazy. I was like 20 years old back then doing this thing, and I was so young that I couldn't even get the liquor license in my name. It was in my mother's name. We had to get the liquor license in her name. I wasn't even 21. But the Ozark Mountain Daredevils played for us, and I remember we had like 500 people, and it was packed. Just person to person. We charged $1 a person. That was like in September. I think it was in like December, January, somewhere along in there, they got a record deal with A&M Records. And they went to, I think, England and did their first album. Well, out of that album came a couple of hit songs. If You Want to Get to Heaven, I think, was one of them. Jackie Blue was another one. I think they were like top 10 hits, maybe number 1 hits. So 50 years later, what I'm trying to get at is they're still playing music in their 70s. And I asked a friend of mine the other day who's a musician, I said, well, how much do you think they make right now? And he said, they're probably getting paid anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000 per show. Well, that's pretty remarkable when you think about it. It's 50 years later, and these guys are old. They're still touring, and they just did a stint recently at the Ozark Mountain, or at the in Nashville at the Grand Ole Opry. That's pretty special when you get invited for that. Well, let me come back around to say it this way. Guys, whatever you're doing, and you believe enough in yourself, like these people do, stay in there, man. Don't give up on yourself. I'm not bragging, but, I still compete at my age. I do jiu-jitsu tournaments. I do boxing tournaments. Now, is the result always what I want? No. Sometimes it's not that pretty, but you know what? I'm determined to stay the course. I'm determined to stay in the game. I'm determined to not give up just because I'm old. The idea that I'm trying to make is that, and I know most of our audience is young, although I did see some statistics the other day that a few of my listeners are in their 50s and early 60s. But most of our audience is 20s, 30s. But the point I'm trying to make is that whether you're old or young doesn't matter. Don't give up on yourself, regardless of the circumstances. Stay the course. Hang in there. And you're going to find out that the best reward for that is that you feel so good about yourself. Like there's no feeling in the world for me like the feeling of knowing that I can do something that's not comfortable. Like last night, I was rolling with a 20-something-year-old wrestler, and it was pretty interesting to myself to know that I could stay with that person, complete the process, and hold my own. I couldn't have done that 10 years ago. But for the last 10 years, between training martial arts and going to the gym every day, I'm able to do things now I couldn't even thought about even 10 years ago. So it's never too late. Just hang in there with yourself, guys, and don't give up. Okay, now let's go to Brent Atterbury over here. Some breaking news.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay. Well, here's one thing you shouldn't do if you're wanting to become successful.
Okay.
And actually live longer.
Okay.
New York Post had a story that packing peanuts, you know what those things are that you use to pack boxes with and stuff? There's
you're talking about
styrofoam and
the styrofoam pieces.
They call them packing peanuts.
Yeah.
It says they are not
called that.
They are not food, but people are eating them.
What?
And the bizarre trend worries experts.
No way.
There's some people on TikTok that are eating them because
what?
It says that they're biodegradable packing peanuts, and so people assume they're okay to eat.
Oh, come on, man.
And on TikTok and online, one person claimed that the peanuts make the perfect bedtime snack. They said they dissolve in your mouth really easy.
Oh, my
so
goodness.
they say it's a disturbing trend, and so these people
that's bizarre.
Are going the wrong direction,
to say the least.
You're,
I would think that would be very physically harmful to you.
Well, and this is
you can't digest that.
This month is National Nutrition Month.
Good.
So you're supposed to watch what you eat.
Goodness gracious.
And then today is National Working Moms Day, and it's also No Smoking Day.
Oh, I like that.
So, and then it's Plant a Flower Day.
Speaking of no smoking, just a quick interject something here. One of my students quit smoking about a month ago. Well, actually quit smoking, then now he's quit vaping.
Congrats.
I said, hey, man.
Yeah, congrats.
And he's going to the gym every day, and I actually rolled with him last night, or we call it rolling, but basically it's grappling.
Yeah.
And man, he's like super strong. He's a very, very strong guy. But the fact is that he's not doing that now. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah.
I just also noticed on Facebook, one of my former employees announced that he's been smoke-free for a year. So I sent him a message.
Good.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
On another note, his wife and I used to be pretty good friends years ago. Haven't talked to her in a long time, but I told her one time, I said, look, if you'll quit smoking, I will pay for a particular surgery, a cosmetic surgery that she's been wanting for a long time. This girl's really pretty. And she said, okay, you're on. And you know what? She didn't make it. She got down to the wire. It was supposed to be like, I said, if you quit for 30 days, she got down to the last week and she started smoking again. This is years ago. And you know what? I hate to say it, but I've seen pictures of her lately, and she's so beautiful, but you can tell now that in her 40s, you can see how that smoking is wearing on the skin. It just does. It's really bad for the body.
Would the cosmetic surgery have helped?
The cosmetic surgery was for another part of the anatomy.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
We can't discuss
We can't discuss that. But the point I'm trying to make is that the husband quit, but the wife didn't. So, look, guys, you're going to always be disappointed about something. I could write a book about disappointments, but what I've learned is you just keep going. And you keep adjusting, and you keep figuring out solutions to what's not right in your life. I make lists every day. I know I'm kind of crazy, but I do it old school. I just write it all down. And sometimes when it's kind of quiet, when my phones aren't ringing, I just make a list of things that are bothering me. And it's pretty interesting if you'll do that every day. you'll find out that there's probably not as many things wrong as you think there are, because you're just rolling around your brain, and you can see it on paper, and then you can kind of start coming up with answers to these things you don't like. And every day you look at the list. And I mean, this doesn't have to be like anything specific, general. Basically, it could be just anything. Like, you know what? I don't really like this part of my personality, or I don't really like that person that I know at the gym. And what am I going to do about that? And so you get the idea.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, any more breaking news? No? Is that
No.
it? Any words of wisdom?
Oh, man. Just, I'm all out.
You're all out.
I spin it all.
I think we bored everybody probably enough for today, so we'll get out of here. But look, guys, we try to do these. We are doing these podcasts weekly. Somebody sent me a message the other day. Hey, when's the next one coming out? I said, well, weekly. Pretty much, we get them out every 7 days, 7 days.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep doing this. We're about a year into that, I think, of just every week now, and we're going to keep going. So we appreciate your support, comments. It's always nice to hear from people from all around the world, and it's nice to know that, we're at least hopefully affecting somebody in a positive way. That's our goal. The old Jewish saying, to help one person is as if to have helped the whole world. Yeah. To save one life is as if to have saved the whole world. That's powerful, man.
That is.
I think people put too much emphasis on numbers. And I know you're in the advertising business, so you have to, but
yeah.
I don't, I think when it comes to business, that's one thing, but this isn't business to us, guys. This is passion. This is like why we do this, because we want to affect people in a positive way.
Well, but also in marketing and advertising, the really smart ones do things to influence consumer behavior.
Yeah.
So it's not always about numbers.
Right. Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. That was a nice way of making that sound better. Oh boy, Brent's something else. Okay, guys. Well, look. Here's the deal, Pickle. If you don't give up, eventually stars are going to line up. So until that time comes, keep your head up, keep your chin up, and always remember to stay positive.